I learned something. And I really, truly do believe when you go through something devastating, super hard, you're growing. We're all growing. And it's the matter of, are you going to take what you learned and use it for the positive? Or are you just going to stay where you're at and not move forward? And I believe wholeheartedly when people look at me and they're like, I can't believe what you're doing, and it's only been 20 months or whatever. That's how I am able to cope with things and deal with it. And truly, I want to be a role model for my kids too. I want them to say, you can go through something horrible and come out better in the end, as well as be able to help people.
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it,
God blessed you with a gift and you're going to serve the world with it. You're going to change and bless the world with it, honoring the gift. See, we don't know who's on the other end of our gift. We don't know their season. And if we are someone different than who God called us to be in those moments, one step at a time, those who we are to serve and honor with our gift will not receive what God intended for them to receive. So God said, who the Son set free is
available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back, Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact hero, and she is someone you are going to want to meet. Our guest today is as hardworking and resilient a woman as you are going to find. She's a mother of 3 grown boys who has experienced both heartache and joy in her life, navigating health concerns, financial difficulties, and depression, all while never giving up and showing the power of the human spirit. Beyond that, she's a dynamic professional with a diverse background in marketing, sales, event management, and with multiple certifications in personal branding, trade show coaching, personal training, and event design and styling, which demonstrate her commitment to learning and excellence. She's an author and international keynote speaker who has touched many with her poignant story of tragedy, the grace of God, and eventual triumph. Her experiences serve as a testament to resilience, faith, and the transformative power of hope. She's outgoing, energetic, and a natural networker who loves to connect with people and create lasting impressions, and often provides a beacon of hope for those who are in the midst of the storm. Please welcome the resilient, insightful, and remarkably inspiring Candy Wolf. Candy, welcome to the iSpark Change podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And we have you on the show, Candy, because you have an incredible story, number one, but number two, we consider you someone that is making a difference for others, someone who has a positive impact on humanity, and by our definition, someone that we consider a social impact hero. So I have to start off with the first question that we ask all our guests on the program. We consider you a hero. Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself a hero?
Yes, I do, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's, I'm a hero and trying to help people, I guess, is the way I look at it.
Okay. And before I ask that, is that something that you had thought of before that you considered you were doing heroic work, or, that helping people makes you a hero?
No, not at all. And not until January of 23, when I lost my husband and went through my whole ordeal, and, with my faith growing and financial resilience, and I've learned a lot. And so I just want to share and help people.
Yeah. And I've noticed, Candy, that's where it starts for a lot of people. It starts with some catalyst. And then from that, there is some type of transformation. And then that intense, and it was the same thing for me, and that intense desire to help others, to not just keep it to yourself, to not, just hold it in, but to share. And I went through the exact same thing. And so every hero has, their story of how they got to doing heroic work. So if you can share with our audience, how did you get on that path? And if that's something that was always deep down inside or something that was just completely new.
Yeah, not a problem. So my whole story actually started back it was on January 27th, 23. My husband and I had taken a trip to Mexico for my 50th birthday. We had been through a lot. He had lost his job like 5 years prior, was unsuccessful in, finding another position. We had owned a company, so he was very successful. And so it was, some years of depression, ended up having a couple surgeries before we went to Mexico. And we were having a great time. And I woke up the morning of January 27th, 2023 at 7:11 a.m. in the morning and discovered he had passed away in the middle of the night. So in a foreign country, not speaking any Spanish, my life was literally turned upside down within seconds. It was something that I never, ever expected, to be a widow at 50 years old. So that's kind of where the whole process started. And being down in Mexico was about 4 days by myself, dealing with the police and trying to get everything wrapped up so I could get back home. And then come to find out, once I got home, I knew he had been using our retirement fund, to help subsidize bills and whatnot. And he kept saying, yeah, we'll put it back, once I find a job. And as soon as I got home from Mexico, opened up with some mail and found a $60,000 check with an account closed. So our 401k had been drained. So not only was I grieving the loss of my husband, now I am dealing with having our last son at home and going to figure out how I'm going to support him and make life happen.
Wow. That's, that would be, one of those in itself would be a lot to deal with. And then you compound the two together. And then I can imagine that was just, an incredibly trying time.
Yes.
For yourself. So what was after the initial trauma, the initial shock,
mm-hmm.
what did you do next? What type of, thoughts did you have in terms of, okay, now what, right? The now what, I guess.
Yeah. The now what that we all have when you get, you're in the depths of your darkest moments. And it's like, okay, so now what? Now, where do I go from here? Mm-hmm. And it just really so happened that God really put it on my heart and reinforced it quite a bit by other people telling me that you have a story to tell and you need to tell it. I had, like I said, 4 days in Mexico where I was by myself and I had seriously had to rely on God to help me get through this, to be mm-hmm. strong. And my faith just grew tremendously in those 4 days. So when I got back, you tell people you lost your husband in Mexico, like you said, that's, bad enough. When I had to deal with the police stealing everything from me when they did the investigation in the room. So, mm-hmm. stole all my cash, all our valuables, wondering if I'm ever going to make it back home, and then get home and then find out you have $60,000 to your name. It's a lot to deal with. And so God put it on my heart that you need to tell your story. And it took about 3 months of being literally slapped in the face constantly, with, you got to do this, you got to do this. And so I decided, all right, I'm going to write a book. And that's kind of where it was at. I was like, I'm going to share my story and give people resources, to learn more about what they need to know. Like I couldn't get into my husband's cell phone after he passed away, because I didn't know the code. I couldn't get into his computer. I didn't know what bills we had to pay. So I want to help other people realize these conversations, have to happen before it's too late. And so was the whole plan was I'm going to write a book and that's it. And then it was another wonderful person came into my life and was like, you know what, now you need to start speaking. Now you need to get out and share this platform everywhere else to inspire not only women, but men, that we need to have this open conversation to, not only for yourself, but for your family and for that financial peace that you can bring. And so when you do lose somebody, you can actually grieve. You don't have to worry about the finances now on top of the grief. And it's just not talked about a lot. So that's, I guess, where I see myself coming in. And it's like, let's sit down and talk, and let me help you through the steps of, I learned the hard way, but you don't have to. So let me help you.
Yeah. Well, I imagine, and again, relatable because I went through something similar, is I can imagine the writing of the book was in some ways, cathartic for you and helped to go through that process. So, the book Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery, talk about, share with our audience what the process of, writing was like for you and how that helped you, to on that hero's journey. Because I part of why I consider, individuals like yourself social impact heroes is, one, you're affecting others in a positive way, right? That part's easy.
Yeah.
The other part is that you've had to go through that heroic journey, which is not easy, which has pitfalls and roadblocks and the tumultuous valleys and depths of darkness. And so share what it was like in terms of the writing of your book and how that helped you through that journey.
Yeah. Wow. It was a lot of really sitting down and doing recording, because you don't realize how much you forget, or I guess maybe it's the grief and your mind wants you to forget some of those very hard times. So just sitting down with the phone, and when I would remember something, doing a voice recording, but going through step by step of what happened and trying to recall it. And a lot of times, every time, you write and then you have to read it over, you're reliving that day over and over and over again. And it took, I still don't know if this today, I could actually read my book without crying about it. So it's healing. It really is healing, but it's also brings up those wounds that are there. And, trying to get past that, it's tough. It really is, but you have to do it. I mean, but besides counseling and, having your support group, but actually writing down your story and then looking back at it and going, holy cow, I really did go through a lot. Because at the time, you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to get through to that next second. So yeah, like I said, when you sit down and actually write out a book, it is very, very healing and devastating almost at the same time, I guess, because you do have to bring up a lot of those feelings. Because it was about probably 3 months after 3 months after he died was when it's like, okay, you need to sit down and write. So like I said, just bringing up what you went through. And some days it feels like, wow, it's been 10,000 years since it happened. And then other days it's like, gosh, did I just wake up and relive the whole day all over again? Yeah.
It almost is like a wound, or some kind of trauma to the body, when sometimes when a bone is fractured, it has to be rebroken, right? It has to be rebroken before it can heal.
Yep.
Or, a wound has to be debrided or something before it can be, and cleaned and healed and everything. And that process is not pleasant, right? That process is not pleasant. But in order to get that full healing and in order to get where things need to be, it's a part of it.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like that was, part of that journey for you, and maybe it's still part of the journey for you.
Yeah, I think so. Will be 2 years in January since, it happened, but it's, when you, like I said, when you write the book too, it's like you write what happened, but then I was able to have an opportunity to kind of write through, going through those firsts of that first year too, of helping people understand, wow, it was the first Valentine's, the first, oh my gosh, he was a huge college football fan. So, Labor Day weekend is always hard for me because that just brings up, that was like his Super Bowl, his Christmas, whatever it may be. So you there's still stuff that when you hit it, those days, it does bring up a lot of wounds. But then you think, I can look back and go, wow, 2 years ago, I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought that I would have had the courage to get up in front of people and speak. The first time I got up and told my story was at a prayer breakfast here in Minnesota. And I was in front of like 300 some people, and I'm not a speaker. So you learn a lot about yourself. You really do. And you find you have strength within you. We all do. It's just the matter of digging down deep and finding it, and then to be able to use that for good. Yeah.
And you talk about, sharing your story with others, whether it's in writing or in the book. Mm-hmm. Hero, social impact hero, by our definition, a hero is an acronym. So honors their purpose, engages their audience in their mission, ripples their message to others to spread positive change and have an impact, and opens the heart to the world. And so in writing and speaking, you're checking all those boxes, you're doing all those things. And so what's been the impact? How have you seen it impact others? I read through different ways that your book had impacted others and reviews and things, but what has been the impact that people have shared with you personally, whether through speaking or through your writing?
The biggest one is that a lot of people have never had the conversations of what happens, if I pass away or my spouse passes away. Like, where is our money? How do I get into your cell phone? How do I get into your computer? And what bills do we pay? I have had more people reach out to me via a phone call, text message, or an email saying, wow, you really opened up my eyes, because you never want to think about it. And finances and death and all that is kind of like the taboo topic. Nobody ever wants to talk about it. Or you think, we can do it tomorrow, we can do it next year. You always think you have more time. And, we can all go, 100% of us are going to die. I mean, that's a given. So helping people be prepared has been, I think, one of the most heartwarming things I could do is when I get an email or a phone call or a text saying, we downloaded, your 10-step process, and we're sitting down and talking through it. And we've made a plan. Now I know if something happens, we're both prepared. We both know the passwords to everything. We know where the money is, and we know what bills need to be paid. And that to me is just satisfying enough, knowing that other people, when they lose their spouse, loved one, that they can grieve. I mean, I look back and it's like, I don't know if I really ever was able to grieve right away, because I was dealing with a whole nother set of issues on top of trying to, do a celebration of life, trying to take care of that, and then figure out how am I going to take care of my family with no money. So to me, is really the biggest thing, is when I hear from people and saying, you really impacted how I look at things. And my husband and I are going to sit down tonight and do this, and we're going to get all this paperwork figured out. So that means a lot to me, that I actually was able to help.
Well, that's fantastic. And there's definitely a ripple effect there to you're helping people, and they're going to tell others, and it's going to lead to other people being helped and taking that extra step. I literally was thinking about it right now as you're speaking, that, oh man, I need to have that conversation with my wife, because, I have a will and everything, but I don't have, she knows how to get on my phone and computer, but beyond that, I do all the bills, all these things that we're talking about. And it's like, oh, and I can imagine how trying, and I know a little bit, I've experienced some of that with, when my dad passed away, and dealing with, some of his affairs, and my sister, same kind of thing. But I can imagine that yeah, that would have a huge effect on the grieving process, that you want to grieve, but you have to go into, into doing mode, doing mode of, oh, wait, instead of being able to, to go through the stages. So let me ask you this, okay? Because part of me sees that, and part of me, knowing who I am in terms of, that I'm a do it person, an action person and everything. Part of me thinks that, well, that would in some ways take my mind off of things, and in some ways give me some relief, because at least I knew I was moving forward in some way, and doing something to move forward. So did that ever play a role for you? How did it manifest itself for you?
I guess I thought about like what I was going through. I didn't want my kids to have to deal with what I dealt with. I mean, I think that was really the spark for me to move forward with it. It's a lot. It really is a ton when you're trying to do with, life insurance and just paying bills, knowing that I'm doing it. I have it done. I have my kids know where everything is and safe. I've done it. So my kids, if something would happen to me, then they know where everything's at, and they can actually process the grief of, losing their mom, instead of going, like you said, when even like losing a parent, going, oh my gosh, so where is this investment and where is that investment and how do I get to this? And just a piece, because I just know how hard it was for me to try to even move forward. I mean, it was 1 second at a time, just basically trying to live. Yeah. And I think the biggest impact that this whole thing had on me was everyone kept saying, okay, maybe you don't know where everything is, but you got to pay your mortgage. You cannot lose your house. And I would look at them and say, fabulous. I would love to pay my mortgage, but everything's electronic these days. And I don't even know who my mortgage company is to make a payment. Yeah. That I think was the hardest thing for me. And so I don't ever want anybody to have to go through like what I went through. So, and the thing too is, like, my husband and I had a very traditional marriage. Like I said, he took care of the bills, he provided, I took care of the kids, the house. And, you ask, it's like, well, is everything okay? Are we doing well? And as a male, and I get it, you're caretakers, you want to provide for the family. You don't want the family to have to worry about anything. And that's where we were at. And I wish I would have been able to push a little more and say, okay, great, we're good, but where are we good at? Because I'm not good, because I don't know anything. I just literally buried my head in the sand almost and let him do everything, because I thought, he's 55, I'm 50, we have plenty of years ahead of us.
Yeah, it's true. And like you said, you just never know.
You don't.
You just never know. Okay, so I think it's important to, as we talk about that hero's journey, that coming out on the other side, if you will, and you are helping others, you're speaking, you're right, you have, helping financially, financial resilience playbook and everything to help others, like you shared. So share how that next chapter evolved, of how you said, hey, this is what I'm going to, how I'm going to change my life and really devote it to, making sure this doesn't happen to others.
It was a process, I think, a really big process of, I work full time as it is, and then it's kind of evolved, I guess you could say. It's like starting with, I'm writing a book to tell my story, and then, okay, well, now I'm going to start speaking. And then it's like, well, my gosh, there's a lot of grief groups out there, but it's hard to find the one that you want to fit into. So then it's like, okay, so now, well, let's start like a Facebook group where people that are grieving, we can get together and have like a community of, sharing each other's, journey. Because I get the big thing to me too is grief doesn't have to be a loss of a spouse or a parent or anything. It can be a loss of a job, a relationship. You're still you go through grief, because I saw that with my husband, when he lost his job after 25 years. That was grief that he went through those stages of losing it, and it's just, oh Lord, so much, but it's just kind of keeps evolving. And now it's, getting the Facebook group up, and now as well, working on some like training modules for people to learn about like the technology, and to learn about the finances, to learn about your personal growth, your faith growth. Like how can you take this horrible thing that's happened in your life and turn around and make good out of it, and be able to get out of bed every morning and not stay in there and pull the blankets over your head and not want to leave. And so my whole purpose, I guess, in life now is to help people. I've always loved to help people, but now I've been given like a platform, and I feel like if I don't use it, then I'm not doing what I was put here to do, because I want my husband's death to mean something. I don't want just to take it for granted. Like, okay, you lost your husband, now what? Well, I've learned a lot, and I want to be able to share that. So every time I talk with someone, or I have an amazing group of friends, they bring up stuff, and it's like, we talk through it, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Let's move forward with that. Who knows where it will take, whether or not it's something that I'm supposed to be doing, but you open the door, you take a step. If it works, you kind of keep moving forward. And if it doesn't, you step back and, okay, let's reevaluate. And maybe there's a different direction I need to go. But in the whole bottom line of everything, it's just about helping people.
Yeah. And I would have asked your purpose. And so, helping people, that's a fantastic purpose. And, obviously, I mean, maybe not the way that you want to get into that from, what happened, going through what happened. I'd say in my experience of, doing, hundreds of these interviews and talking to, many people from all walks of life and many tragic situations, is that it's where and I've used this analogy before, that, a diamond's brilliance doesn't come from the top. It comes from all the imperfections on the bottom, and the angles and the cuts and the hard things that it had to go through to become a diamond. And we're the same way, is that, the beauty and the full capacity of who we are comes from all of that. So even the still journey you're on now, where you're like, oh, let me just figure it out, and let's decide what we're going to do and how I'm going to help people. All of that is adding to the different ways that, is honoring that purpose, and adding to the different ways that you're going to help people. And it's just only the beginning. So you're just going to continue to do that in different ways. Yeah.
I'm excited about it. Like, so when you think about, like, for the longest time, people were, tell you, thank you so much for helping me. Thank you. And it's just like, oh, that's just kind of what you do. And then when you kind of talk about things, it's like, wow, I'm actually making a difference. And I never, ever thought in a million years, like, I would be making the difference that I am making. And I have to say, it's all, unfortunately, losing my husband. Would I want him back so I didn't have to do all this? Of course, in a million years, I would take him back over everything. But I want his memory to last. And I learned something, and I really, truly do believe, like you said, when you go through something devastating, super hard, you're growing. We're all growing. And it's the matter of, are you going to take what you learned and use it for the positive? Or are you just going to stay where you're at and not move forward? And I believe wholeheartely when people look at me and they're like, I can't believe what you're doing, and it's only been 20 months or whatever. And it's like I said, that's my purpose. That's how I am able to cope with things and deal with it. And truly, I want to be a role model for my kids too. I want them to say, you can go through something horrible and come out better in the end, as well as be able to help people and don't be selfish. I mean, I have so much to help people with, and I just, I get phone calls and I want to talk with people and help them out. And that's what I want my kids to see. And I want them to be a light for the world too. I want them to shine. When people look at me and they're like, there's something different about you. Well, it's you. We all have hearts, but my heart's big enough to share with everybody.
Yeah.
And I want to shine. I want to be that light. So when people see me and see what I went through, they can say, wow, if she can do it, I mean, I can do it. I am nothing special. I am just here. I've, like I said, been given a tragedy, and I'm making the best out of it and trying to move forward.
Yeah. And that's the heart of what you're doing is you're moving forward and you're making the best of it and impacting others in a positive way at the same time. So it's a perfect segue to a question that we ask on the show of all our guests. It is about a spark moment. So that's a term that we use on the show to describe those times where our actions or the actions of another have a ripple effect that goes far beyond the initial act. So it could be that, someone shares something with you or your book has impacted someone and it's led to a, change for them. I mean, you've already described some in the show. But share an example of a spark moment that comes to mind where either it was a way that, what you're doing has impacted someone where maybe you didn't see the ripple effect right away, but then later, they shared that or someone else that they had an impact on you and it's impacted you.
Yeah, I think my biggest ripple effect to all of this, like I said, I was just going to write the book and that was it. And I was going to step back. And I had a dear friend that pulled me aside one day and was like, you have something special to share. You need to get out in front of people and speak. I never thought, like I said, in a million years, I would be on a stage telling my story, talking to people. I mean, for work, yeah, I've done little breakout sessions, at conferences, but getting up and doing keynotes, like never in my wildest dreams. So it's been people behind me that have said, you know what, you can do this. You have a story to tell and I'm going to help you. I'm going to support you along the way. So I have a group behind me of a few amazing women that, when you have those down days and it's like, really, maybe I thought all this up and this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but it sure doesn't feel like it. You have those days, but you need to have your support group behind you to be your cheerleaders. Because it takes a lot to get out there and be that face for everybody else and to help everybody else. But I still need help, and I have those people that truly are my spark, that are the ones that get me through when I'm down and build me back up and get me back out where I'm going. So we all need those. We all need those people in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, Candy, I know our audience will want to learn more about you. How can they connect with you? How can they order your book and so forth?
Yeah. So the easiest way to order is through my website, and it's www.candy, just Candy, Wolf, WOLFF.com. You can find all the resources that I have. And a lot of people that I used, I've posted them on my website as well. So you can order the book there, the Facebook groups there, working on my modules. Those will be eventually, hopefully within the next month and a half up. As well on Instagram is where I share a lot of like what's going on and just asking questions. So, and that is, unfortunately, my name is taken. So it is just Candy, Candy, Wolf, WOLF, just one F, and then the number 3 is where they can follow me and kind of watch my journey too. It's fun watching the kids grow and, prosper. Like my youngest, like I said, he had just turned 17, junior in high school when all this happened. So being able to watch him and my middle son grow and just become amazing men and seeing like their dad in them, it's very, very cool because his spirit is kept alive by all of us, but in them, it's like I can see who raised them and their values, and it's very cool to see.
Yeah, that would be very cool. That would be very cool. Well, we will make sure we put all that in the show notes so everyone can find you and can connect and learn more about you and order your book.
Thank you. I so appreciate you having me here today. This has been amazing.
Yeah, of course. So final question before we wrap up. And this is a question that we ask all of our guests, because our goal at iSpark Change is to positively impact 1 billion people within 5 years of launching our upcoming social impact social media platform. Now, we know we can't do it alone. We know we need the help of social impact heroes, leaders like yourself, to show others the way, because many people feel, as I once did, and you did as well, that they're just one person, and how are they going to make a difference, right? And impact others. So we value your thoughts and opinions as a social impact hero. So I want you to peer into the future, peer into our iSpark Change crystal ball, and tell me, what can the world become if everyone starts believing that they can impact the future in a positive way?
That just gives me goosebumps to think about, because we would have such a better world. Everybody has something to give. No matter what it is, and like you said, even it could be something super small that you don't feel like it's something big, but it could be just really even a smile walking down the street to somebody that will change their day. I mean, we all go through stuff, and we have no idea what other people are going through in their lives, because we all walk through putting a smile on our face, thinking everything is well. So the more people can be an impact to this world, it would just be such an amazing place. There would be, people would get along better. People, if you want to help somebody, it's easier. Or what do they say? It's less muscles to put a smile on your face than a frown on your face.
It's true.
And that's the one thing that I look at is smiling at someone and just, asking them how they're doing, taking a couple seconds to not focus on us, but let's focus on somebody else and see how we can help them, because then that ripple effect is going to happen. I mean, you could touch one person, they could touch another 5, and it's just going to go from there. So the more we all can help with that spark that change, the world could just be an amazing place.
And that's what we're working towards. So thank you for what you're doing in that aspect. And thank you for taking time to share your heart and wisdom with our audience today, Candy. You came in, you over-delivered as I expected. Your desire to be impactful is evident, and you're filled with passion, determination, and resilience, and you lead with a heart of service, which tells me you're going to continue to have success in all facets of life, and this is only the beginning of your time as a social impact hero.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I sure hope so.
All right, Impact Heroes, it's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Candy's today. Candy Wolf, you're not only an inspiring and amazing human being, you truly are an iSpark Change social impact hero. We'll see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Performance made me feel some type of way. My name is Craig Siegel.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments, and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.